Hello, Amazon customers. I'm making this video because I've been buying a whole bunch of stuff from Amazon lately, and a lot of the stuff I'm buying is all based upon these new kind of batteries that they're using, the lithium-ion batteries and that kind of technology. And what I'm noticing is when I look at the product reviews, a lot of people don't know how to operate these things, and that's why they're having all these complaints, and they're taking stuff back because they don't bother to even understand how they operate. Okay, so I think everybody should watch this video to understand the fundamentals of lithium-ion technology. Because without knowing that, you're going to be making big mistakes, and you're going to be wasting your time. You're going to get pissed off at Amazon. Amazon's going to have to take your return because they'll take any return, and you're wasting a bunch of time and money and effort, and you're aggravating a lot of people for no reason because you didn't bother to read the directions. My number one suggestion is when you buy a new product, read the directions before you try to open it and use it. Doesn't that seem obvious? It should be even more obvious. This technology is not that straightforward. Once you know it, it's you know it, but there's a few fundamentals you have to understand, okay? The most fundamental thing, again, is read the directions before you try to use it, okay? Well, here's a few gotchas I'm noticing. People are making these big complaints on the product reviews, and they're just little things that they're ignoring, okay? Here, I'll give you a list of them, okay? First of all, you want to use the cables that come with the unit. You don't want to start mixing and matching them. I know you probably have 100 power supplies in your house. I got at least 200. But you have to use the right power supplies with the right equipment, or otherwise it can cause problems. You can actually break your equipment when you first plug it in if you use a charger that wasn't made for that equipment. And the other thing is you want to use clean power for this. You don't want to use some dirty power and wreck your delicate electronics. So when you buy these things, you have to look and see if it says pure sine wave. If you're using like a charger or a battery device, I got a whole bunch of them here. Yeah, you want to know if that's outputting, what kind of energy it's outputting. Is it clean or is it like the step stuff? Because some of the equipment you may be plugging into may be sensitive to that. So before you even try it, make sure you know what you're doing, okay? Next thing is there's an order in which you're supposed to follow as far as what you're supposed to plug in. And this is the biggest mistake I see people making all the time. I've even seen videos of product review videos where they show how to plug it in. They're plugging it in wrong. Here's a work lamp from Costco. It's got the lithium-ion technology charger, okay? And I know it's fully charged, but let's say it wasn't fully charged and I wanted to charge it. And let's say I want to charge it from one of these little power stations that I've just been buying. I've been buying a whole bunch of these, right? Or you don't have to charge from that. You can also charge it from a standard USB wall outlet, okay? So they give you they don't usually give you this, but sometimes they do give you this. When I bought this unit here, they did supply this with it. By the way, this is a unit from Costco. It's wonderful here. Sorry for Amazon. They don't sell this, but it's really nice. And they do supply this little thing here, okay? And they also supply this cable. And this cable is specifically for this unit here. And if you read the directions, they say that this is a special cable. They say don't damage it. It's got a special internal usage that you're not supposed to damage it, and you're supposed to use this cable with this charging station. Nothing else. Now here's the problem here. Watch how I do this. There's an order in which you're supposed to assemble this, okay? Number one, you're supposed to plug this here into the back of the unit. That's the first thing you're supposed to do. Okay, so the first thing you do is you plug this into here, right? Anyway, yeah, the other thing is when you plug these in, some of these things are not round. They don't work both ways. Most of them don't work both ways. Only the USB-C can you plug them in either way, okay? So what you have to do, you have to look very closely at these, okay? And see if there's a flat part of it. See the bottom is flat? And then you got to look at what you're plugging into and match that. You don't want to do it the wrong way and start bending it and forcing it in there. Never force anything, by the way. All right. So now I know the flat's on this side, right? So that's how you plug it in, okay? That's the first thing you do. You don't do this. You don't plug it into here after you've already had it plugged in, because when you do that, there's going to be some live electricity in there. and they don't want you to do that. So they say that's the first thing you're supposed. Next thing you're supposed to do is plug this into here, okay? And the third thing you're supposed to do is take this and plug it into your power strip. And the best thing would be to plug in your power strip and have a power strip that has an on-off switch, and turn it off, plug it in, and then turn the power switch on the on your power strip. That would be the best order in which you do this. Now the worst thing you could do is have this live electricity, and then take it and plug it in here with live electricity. That can damage the unit. They specifically tell you about that. And I'll tell you, like I said, I've seen product reviews. They just plug it in. They don't even look at the directions. If you're going to make a product review on Google or Amazon or anything, you better know what you're talking about. You shouldn't suggest stuff like that when the manufacturer specifically forbids it, okay? The next thing I want to talk about is these little push buttons on this unit here. Like, see, it's got a little push button on here? People don't know how to use these things, okay? Sometimes you have to double click them. And this one here, I push it. This got a lamp in here. I'm trying to get this lamp to come on. I didn't read the directions. So what do? Start pushing it. Hey, what's the matter? I don't know. It doesn't work. What's the problem? Because this particular one, you have to push it and hold it. And that turns the light on, okay? See how long I had to hold it there for? If you didn't know that, you wouldn't know how to turn it on. Now, some of these things, believe it or not, some of these things take double clicks, like a computer, some of them even require triple clicks. I had one like that yesterday, a little hand warmer. You had to click it, do a double click for click it for one setting, double click for a second setting, and triple click it for a third setting. So my point is, again, read the directions or you're not going to know how these things operate. And I saw so many people with this particular unit that said I couldn't get the light to work. I'm taking it back because they didn't bother to read the directions. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is charging these things. When they deliver these things, they usually come with maybe a 50% charge load. And very important, most important, the first thing you should do when you get these, you should not turn them on. Don't turn them on. Charge them to 100% capacity first, okay? Whatever the indicator is, make sure it's fully charged and locked in the charge. And sometimes when you do that, you're going to think something's wrong with your unit because a lot of these units are programmed to accept what's called an initial charge. When they accept the initial charge, they behave a little bit differently. They take a lot longer to charge for the initial charge. It locks the battery into a certain mode, so it's ready to work. It's in a mode where it's to be shipped, and then when you receive it, when you charge it up, it turns it into a active or a ready mode. Now, when you do that, if you happen to have one that's got a digital readout, like here, this has got a digital readout here, and here this guy. I'm actually charging two different things with this. I'm charging this and I'm charging a hand warmer. And I'm doing this to actually test the capacities. Well, what I noticed is that if you do have a digital readout, or even the little LED lights or whatever, like here, how's it work? See how these lights come on? These are like power level indicator lights. What you'll see when you're charging that initial charge, that first charge, that last light won't go on. And if it's got a digital readout, it'll sit there at 99%. It'll sit there at 99% for like 2 hours. You're going to think something's wrong with it. You got to be patient. Well, the first time it maybe go from 0 to 99 like an hour, and it may take another half an hour to go from 99 to 100. That's okay. That's normal. All right. And once that happens, then the battery knows that it's in the state. It's like in a ready runtime state. So you got to be patient. And again, a lot of times the directions specify this. They'll tell you that this happens. Now, some of these guys, they get out of what's called calibration. Calibration between the amount of charge that's in the battery and what the percentage charge meter is actually indicating. They can be way out of whack. And so even if you charge 100% and then you plug into some, you want to charge something with it, all of a sudden it drops to 90% instantly, and then it starts acting a little bit weird. That can happen. When that does happen, what you're supposed to do is go ahead and discharge the battery all the way to 0, and then start a charge from 0 to 100. And they tell you when you do that, it recalibrates the settings between the battery capacity and the display meter. So that's how you can get it to work. Because I tell you, I've had a whole bunch of them that did that, and I went ahead and followed, and it even says the directions saying that could happen. They tell you what to do. And then I went ahead and followed the directions and let it go to 0, and then went back to 100, and it started working good after that. But if you didn't know these things, you're gonna send it back to Amazon, and you're gonna bitch and moan in the product reviews. Now, the last things I want to talk about are safety, because these things are not freaking safe. They're dangerous. In fact, this stuff is not even allowed to be transported on an airplane at all. When you get the box, it's got a label like this on there. It says, "Do not move this on an airplane." That means it's using this technology, and this stuff is actually pretty dangerous stuff, because you never want to get this stuff wet. If it gets wet, it can explode. It can catch on fire. You never want to let this stuff get too hot. So you never want to use this stuff in a car at all. You never want to take this and put it in your car, ever. You put it in the glove box of your car, you think, well, hey, if my cell phone dies, I'll have this in here. I'll use it to recharge my cell phone. Yeah, it's a great idea, great concept. But when it's in your car, if your car gets really hot, it can get really hot in the car, this thing can actually melt, and internally it can short circuit inside the lithium-ion battery. This thing can catch on fire. And it happens all the time. In fact, those Gold Rush guys, the guys up in Canada where they're doing the gold. This one guy lost a $500,000 truck rig because his little some lithium-ion device caught fire in his truck. And I bet this is going to happen a lot in the future, like a whole lot, when we depend on this stuff more and more. I bet it happens already with the cell phones. But I think cell phones are a little more robust. These things are actually dangerous. And they tell you right up, don't put it on your dashboard, don't even put it in your car, okay? And also, don't drop them. They tell you, don't drop. If you drop it, it can start, if you drop it, then in 3 months, it can start catching on fire by itself. Well, these things are actually pretty dangerous. If you drop it, I would say right away you want to maybe sniff it, or I would put it in a place that if it catches on fire, it won't do too much damage if you've dropped it and you've dropped it pretty hard. Some of these things are geared, they're a little more rugged. Like this one here is actually way more rugged. This thing, you can supposedly drop it from 2 meters. It's got a 2-meter drop test on it. That's nice, but you don't want to throw it around anyway, and you don't want to drop it in a river. This thing is supposedly water resistant as well, but you never, even this water resistant one, you never want to immerse it in water, and they clearly say that. And the problem is, if you look at the listings, some of these things, they get a little over aggressive with the capabilities, and they'll say this one's waterproof. No, they're not waterproof. They're water resistant. That's a big difference. Water resistant means you can, a little mist will get on it, or maybe little raindrops, and it'll be okay. Waterproof means you could actually dunk it in water. These are not waterproof. If you dunk these in water, it's going to catch on fire in 2 months, and it'll burn your house down, and you won't even know it even happened. The last thing is, unfortunately, with this technology, you're never supposed to let these things run down too much. They tell you that every 3 months, if you don't use it, which you're never going to use this stuff, it'll sit in your house for years and years. But even while it's sitting there for years and years, while you're maybe waiting to use it, maybe you're going to go on a camping trip or something one of these days, you're supposed to be charging this thing every 3 months. So take everything out and charge them up and make sure they're charged. They say if you don't do that, you're going to mess it up. The last thing I want to talk about is something called pass-through versus passive. Passive means that, like this thing here, it can't be charging and running at the same time. Now, you've heard like a UPS, uninterruptible power supply. I stutter. Those are what's called pass-through. You can keep those plugged in and you can run stuff off them. But most of this lithium-ion technology is not really pass-through. What happens if you try to run it as a pass-through, it really damages, it shortens the battery life on these. And these things have a finite battery life. They have what's called a count of recharge cycles. And most of the newer stuff has got like 1,000 recharge cycles, so yeah, that's pretty safe. That'd be good for maybe 10 years if you used it every other day or a couple times a week. It'd be good for many years like that. But when you use it as a pass-through, it's like you're constantly recharging and using at the same time, and that decreases your battery life greatly. So a lot of stuff won't even let you use it like that. Some stuff allows it, but you're really not supposed to use it. Like when you're charging this one, if you turn the light will stay on, but you're not really supposed to use it like that. And there's other stuff, way bigger stuff, that it becomes more dangerous, more hazardous. So safety first. And beyond that, I think the technology is wonderful. It's awesome. They have these standard plugs that go from device to device, and you can sit there and charge a device to another device. And like I got an emergency radio I can use, and I can charge that to my hand warmer. I can charge my hand warmer back to my emergency radio. I can charge my work light and go. It's really good stuff. Okay, but you gotta be safe about it, and you have to be cautious. And you have to be knowledgeable of what the directions say, okay? Today is the 15th of January 2022. It's Marty Waller from Livonia, Michigan.